In this video tutorial, I will show you how to create complex repeated tiling patterns where row and column offset is being used. Designers can place tiles of different shapes that uniquely form one single unit. In this case, the method, which is based on repeating the image of a tile one after the other, won't give the appropriate result. We have to use another way. The graphical method for irregular patterns will help you to identify the repetitive tiling pattern and use it as many times as you want. So I will place the kitchen floor tiling shown in this picture onto the tiles that I already have. Before I actually do that, let's check out what happens when you actually place tiles in ARCHLine.XP and what are the options for row shifts and columns. In the graphic SX and SY represents the size of the tile, while DX and DY is the offset parameters. So our first task is to draw the sample using the 2D drafting tools to specify the tiling pattern that we are going to use. So let's do that first. As you can see on the example, I have already did my homework and the drawings are here already. So let's zoom in to see it a little bit better. We will use the 600 x 600 mm tiles in this sample, and these will alternate with the 100 x 100 mm tiles. So we are talking about these things over here. You can see that the sizes of the tiles were given by excluding the 2 mm grout. Now we can draw the sample, leaving space for the grout, of course. So we will use the 100 x 100 mm and 600 x 600 mm tiles for the sample. It is always recommended to copy this twice, so you have more items to work with, and this can give you the single starting point for the column and row if offsets. So now that the drawings are done, let's start creating the tile pattern. What we must first do is that we have to determine the size of the tiling pattern. This is the value SX and SY in the previous dialog. So it might happen that when we are not able to work out these values, just like in this case, I usually give the size of the rectangle which is formed by the two tiles together. The next step is to place the tiles. So first I select a larger tile. The size is correct, the thickness is 5 mm and the grout depth would be 2 mm. Let's specify that. The material is already good. So once I have specified that, I can place it onto my drawing. And the first tile is ready. So let's move on to the second tile, which is the 100 x 100 mm tile. The settings are correct. The material has to be changed. And now I will place this as well. So I'm finished defining the repetitive tiles, but the pattern is not determined yet. So at this point, the location of the next pattern, that is the row and the column offset, must be set up. By clicking on the dimension line at the bottom of the enclosing rectangle, you have the option to enter this graphically. So you can move the sample into XY direction. The cursor will show the pattern that you need. If there is an offset in both directions, select the free option, and now let's see that I can place the pattern very nicely on the next point so that the exact location of the pattern can be given. The arrows also show the offset. So we will need to do the same thing into the vertical direction as well. So now I'm going to click on the green arrow again. Here too I have to select the free option, and in this case the place of our next sample will be that particular point. So now we have to finalize the repeated tiling pattern, and finally we save it into the library. It is of course possible to modify the repeated pattern afterwards. To do this, I suggest moving the pattern from the defined location to make it easier to select later on. Select the tiling, create tiling pattern, continue command. Here now we can see precisely the values that we have added. In the next step, I place the previously created repeated tiling pattern on the kitchen floor. Instead of rectangle, I select tiling pattern. I choose the previously created pattern from the library. Then, when the tile size is entered in the SX, SY fields, The previously defined values are entered in the row and column offset fields. Select the original orientation, and after that, let's place the repeated tiling pattern. And we are done.